Hey folks, what's up? Roland Martin here. We are live in New York City, where in just a few moments, the opening of the Jackie Robinson Museum will take place. We were here 5 years ago when they broke ground on this museum honoring the first African-American ball player to play in Major League Baseball. You know, y'all know I always say that the Negro Leagues was already the major leagues, but in terms of white Major League Baseball, he was the first player. And so it is luckily it's not a scorched day here in New York City. Got a nice little cloud cover and a little breeze. And so you see all the seating that's arranged out here for all of the dignitaries to share their thoughts about this day. Robert Roberts of Good Morning America. She is going to be emceeing this particular event. And so a number of people already here. Bill Coleman, who was of course, former head of the National League. Spike Lee be here. Sheila Johnson, Salamander Resorts. She's here as well. Any number of people going to be out here. Again, this is a Dave Roberts, one of the top executives with ESPN. He's on their board. He's going to be here as well. And so many people are going to be out here, not only honoring Jackie Robinson, but also honoring his wife, Rachel Robinson. She is the woman who has been the force behind building the legacy continue the legacy of her late husband. I see CC Sabathia here. CC Sabathia is here. Of course, the New York Yankees great. He's here. What's up, Doc? How you doing, baby?
Good.
You all good?
Yeah.
Man, how you feel about this huge day?
Oh, this is huge, man. This is awesome to be able to come here and have the museum opening. I haven't been through it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I saw your video on the inside. I got a little preview last night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen anything. So, it's just cool to be able to, have this moment for us. I don't think this is a baseball story. I think it's an American history story. So to be able to have this museum here in New York City, I think it's really, really cool.
And one of the things you've been very vocal about how important this history is, how important black ball players are to this sport. Unfortunately, the numbers have dwindled a lot. And some people are like, hey, CC, why are you talking all that? But your deal is like, no. This is also our sport. Because I keep telling people the major league players were in the Negro leagues. It was just called a major league because the white folks had all the money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is that people don't understand that the Negro Leagues wasn't like a backyard league. These were like, this is like the LeBron James and, Satchel Paige was flying around on a plane.
What Dizzy Dean said, he said the best players were in the Negro League.
Yeah, I mean, and I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Bob Feller, and him and Satchel Paige were really close, and he told me that the best players were in the Negro League. So, to be able to have this museum and have, everything that Jackie stood for, be here and be, immortalized is awesome for us.
All right, man. Always good to see you, baby.
Yes, sir.
All right. Look at Slick. Oh, you know it. Come on now. You know it. Y'all, that's CC Sabathia, New York Yankees great. Again, someone who has been quite vocal. Again, as I said, about blacks in major leagues. I see a lot of people who are out here, a lot of baseball fans. Like I say, we were here when they broke ground on this 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago when they broke ground on this. And so it's absolutely phenomenal. Actually, what we got to do, Anthony, we just actually just raise the tripod. We just take it all the way up. That way we can shoot over the heads of folks who'll be walking through. So, folks, again, I'm sort of eyeing folks as they're coming out. So right behind us is a huge white tent. It's a huge white tent where the VIPs are gathered in here as they come out, before they come out. So the deal is here. The groundbreaking here is going to be from 10:30 to 11:45. Let me see if I can grab Howard Bryant. Come here, Deshaun. See that brother right there in the gray. In the gray jacket, in a red shirt, that's Howard Bryant. Bald head guy right there. Yeah, grab Howard, bring him here. So we got different. Mark Thompson, come here. So Mark Thompson, of course, is out here. I would make it plain. Mark, I see you rocking your 42 jersey.
That's right. This is an historic day. Glad you're here. Glad we're all here to cover it. This has been Rachel Robinson's dream. And this is really one of the most important, if not the pinnacle of what she's achieved. The movie was great, but it always was a goal to build this museum. It was interesting, Roland. August 28th is a sacred day in our history. August 28th, 1945, Jackie Robinson signs his contract. August 28th, March on Washington, 63. August 28th, 2008, Barack Obama accepts the nomination.
Yeah, August 28th.
But I'm getting to that though for a reason. But August 28th, 1955, 8 years after Jackie Robinson broke through, was Emmett Till's martyrdom.
Yep.
But what's interesting that this museum is opening today, one day after what would have been Emmett Till's 81st birthday.
There you go.
So, the two were still connected, and obviously both were very, very important in our struggle for civil rights. So this is great. I'm looking forward to seeing the museum and celebrating it. And this probably will end up being, this other thing, I didn't think about this. This is the only civil rights museum in New York.
Mm.
There is no museum, because a lot of the museum is going to be dedicated to civil rights and to Jackie's civil rights legacy. So this is a great thing, brother.
All right, Doc. Well, we'll definitely enjoy it. We'll see you in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
All right.
Howard. So, y'all, it is just, again, it's a whole lot that is happening out here. We are definitely enjoying it, seeing the people who are out here. As Mark Thompson said, this is indeed the legacy or the fulfillment of what Rachel Robinson wanted to do. Remember, Jackie Robinson died in 1972, 53 years old, had a heart attack. He had diabetes. He was ill for a number of years. The level of stress that existed, the toll that it took on his body was significant. He had finished his book right before he passed away, and it was published after he died. And since his death in 72, 50 years ago, I mean, Rachel Robinson has been leading this. As I said on last night's show, in many ways, Rachel Robinson has carried the legacy of Jackie Robinson the same way Coretta Scott King carried the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Without her, you don't have a national holiday. Without her, you don't have all of these different dedications and schools and streets named after him. And so in many ways, Rachel Robinson has been that driving force to keep the legacy of her husband alive. And so now what you have here with this museum opening here in New York, like I say, it took 5 years. COVID delayed this for a couple of years. The amount of money that they raised as well. All of those different things were actually happening. And so this has been a labor of love. We told you yesterday they had, of course, the grand opening, if you will, some of the grand opening. You had the Jackie Robinson Foundation that was actually, of course, on the inside is actually on the second floor. This museum, y'all, is unbelievable. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to be covering this again from 10:30 to 11:45 here. Then we'll stop our stream, and then we're actually then going to go inside, and then we'll be doing a live stream from in there, doing interviews with a lot of these dignitaries who are here, these luminaries, just getting their thoughts and reflections on this important day. So as you see, folks are filling in all these particular seats here. And like I said, so right now it's 10:31. So this program should be starting fairly soon. And so we're looking forward to that. Again, I'm looking at all the different people who are here, who are arriving. A lot of them longtime friends of Rachel Robinson. Her granddaughters are here. Got a chance to meet them last night. And so a lot of family members are here as well. And so it really is a huge day. I can tell you when we walked into that, it was Trip last night walking into the museum, because again, we were here and they broke ground and we just saw like this big old empty room with a concrete floor. And then to see what they actually turned this thing into was absolutely incredible. Joining me right now is my man Howard Bryant. We've had him on the show numerous times. He is the author of a number of books, including has a new book out on Ricky Henderson. He had his book, of course, on Henry Hank Aaron. And so he is, of course, a longtime writer for ESPN. Now he is with another sports facility. And so you see my man Spike Lee showing up in his Brooklyn hat and got his unique New York Knicks. Look like his New York Knicks number 42 jersey, because he's got it's black, blue, and orange. And so Spike is rocking that. And so he's looking good there as well. And so and last night he's on the show, Coach, and he was all suited and booted. But, he's got his sports attire on right now. And so you got Major League Baseball officials out here. You got Major League Baseball Player Association folks out here. What's up, baby? I got you. No problem. And so, again, Howard would join us in just a second. We'll chat with him. But look, this thing was not possible without millions of dollars from donors. They spent a lot of time. Raising the money to build this facility. So those folks who are here last night, that was a reception for the donors. They got a private walkthrough. They had that particular reception. And so that was last night. Again, we did the show from the inside the foundation last night. And so we were here definitely for that. And so enjoyed it immensely. Again, as I said, you got family members who are out here. You've got longtime friends. Last night we talked to Nicole. She, of course, is a former Jackie Robinson scholar. She's now the CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation. And so a number of other Jackie Robinson scholars, they are out here as well. And so that was a huge part of Jackie Robinson education. The amount of money that he raised for that was, as we told you, he raised money for a number of causes. Education was one, but he was a huge fundraiser for the NAACP. Not sure if Derek Johnson, CEO of the NAACP, is going to be here. But again, he was a huge figure. He also, last night I was talking, and Jackie Robinson also was a co-founder of the 100 Black Men. And so when you talk about Jackie Robinson's history, it's enormous. And folks, you're going to see that when you go into this museum. What is so awesome, this is not, let me be real clear, this is not a baseball museum. This is a museum about Jackie Robinson, the man. And so when you look at all of the folks, you look at all of the things that he did and was involved in, this museum lays out that amazing and unique history, that long history. And so that's one of the things that I think you're going to really enjoy, because it shows the totality of who Jackie Robinson was. Again, his civil rights work, his political work, his economic work, of course, obviously what he did with baseball, UCLA, of course, again, just storied athletic career as a football player, basketball player, track and field star, as well as baseball. And that's what's amazing. He was a 4-sport star at UCLA. Baseball was actually his 4th sport. Now think about that. He was better at the other 3 sports than he was at baseball. That tells you all you need to know about Jackie Robinson. Okay, folks, we're going to be starting this program real shortly. And so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and we're just going to grab the audio feed from the stage. And then we will then be back again afterward, folks, for more interviews on the inside. Roland Martin here with the Black Star Network live at the Jackie Robinson Museum ribbon cutting ceremony. And let's go live to the podium.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Jackie Robinson Foundation is pleased to introduce this morning's MC. Good Morning America's anchor, Miss Robin Roberts. Miss Roberts is an outstanding athlete and trailblazer in her own right. She is the daughter of a Tuskegee Airman and a past member of the Jackie Robinson Foundation's Board of Directors. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give a great round of applause for Mrs. Robin Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, New York. I already said good morning, America, so good morning, New York. I got to tell you how special this moment is, and to know that we are celebrating two momentous events. Yes, the opening of the Jackie Robinson Museum, but also celebrating the 100th birthday of the woman whose drive, determination, spirit, and vision will be realized when we open those doors right now, Rachel Robinson. From the start, Mrs. Robinson envisioned a museum that was much more than a remembrance of her husband's, yes, baseball Hall of Fame career. Her dream was a museum that would be a celebration of an American hero whose actions opened the floodgates to the modern civil rights movement. The Jackie Robinson Museum will be New York's epicenter for bringing Black history forward into the present. It will serve as a venue for vibrant dialogue on critical social issues, a beacon of hope, which we always are in need of. Against the backdrop of U.S. history, from his birth in 1919 to today, the mission of the museum will be to educate, inspire, and to challenge. Educate visitors about Jackie Robinson, yes, the athlete, activist, patriot, entrepreneur, and devoted family man. Inspire those interested in the history of social change and the prescription for greater progress. And finally, challenge people of all ages to pursue a life of achievement and purpose, a life committed to impacting others' lives. And that is the motto of the foundation. But I want you to know, make no mistake about it, with over 450 priceless artifacts collected by family and friends, 40,000 historical images, more than 450 hours of amazing video footage, and the voices of dozens of cultural icons and social leaders, this museum behind us will always be an entertaining experience enhanced by advanced capabilities that will captivate visitors of all ages. And now to learn more, I gotta say, this is a beautiful audience. I just have to look, Billie Jean King, Spike Lee, Oh my goodness. I'm just telling you, and it's all about being here to celebrate. And I want a woman to come up here who has been such the cornerstone of why we are able to open these doors. To learn more about the vision, potential, and impact of this unique New York institution and the decades of relentless effort that brought us to today, I'd like to bring up a woman who has helmed the Jackie Robinson Foundation for 17 years. 17 years. And not only has she overseen the amazing growth of JRF's scholarship program, which the New York Times, by the way, dubbed one of the best educational efforts of its kind, but she also undertook the $42 million National Legacy Campaign that finally got the museum built. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Della Britton.
Oh boy, oh boy. So, I only have like 8 minutes, so. And you know, those of you who know me know I like to talk. So, Robin, first of all, I mean, when we found out Robin was going to lead us through this morning, there was a resounding cheer throughout literally screams, Robin Roberts is going to come today. And I understand she was on vacation and left vacation early to come here. Yes, she was on the Jackie Robinson Foundation. Yes, she's our heroine. She was on the Jackie Robinson Foundation board. And by the way, she received the Distinguished Roby Award in 2006 from the foundation. And any association we can claim with Robin Roberts, we do. So we may burlesque it a little bit, but we are just thrilled that she's with us today and hope she'll come back and help us with some of the, I think, robust, exciting programming we're planning for the museum. So thanks, Robin. When I came to the foundation, actually almost 18 years now, I mentioned to Len Coleman, who was at the time the board chairman, longtime board chairman of the foundation. He's now chairman emeritus. I said to him, you know, this is such an exciting thing for me as one of 6 children and the only girl, been a sports fan all my life. And I said, but I'm thinking, you know, 2 or 3 years makes sense for me. And then I'll, you know, step aside and do what the board directed me to do, which was initially to increase the national presence of the foundation, and of course, to grow and institutionalize its celebrated career and leadership development program, which next year will be 50 years old. There was talk also, however, about Rachel Robinson adding another goal for the foundation, something for which she had had a long-held vision, and it was to build a museum that not only told the story of her heroic husband, but that encouraged particularly the next generation to carry on his work and to embrace the values of humanitarianism. And the idea was that the museum would bring people together, forge bonds, and continue the work of changing the social landscape of our country for the better. But it became clear to me after a few months or so that I had not factored into this 2-year plan of mine how compelling and uplifting it would be to be around so many bright, highly motivated young people in our Jackie Robinson Foundation Scholars Program. I was focused on infrastructure, management, systems. But when I realized the depth of the foundation's college mentoring program, and then perhaps more importantly, the pride and the affinity that Rachel Robinson inspired in these young leaders, I began to realize that this program, 50 years old next year, as I said, as much Rachel's and Jackie's legacy today was very special, and I was hooked. One of my favorite stories was often told by JRF alumni. Each year when the group convened, in the beginning at Rachel Robinson's home in her living room, Rachel would have each Jackie Robinson scholar talk about their experience in college. And at the end of each of those stories, and alumni love to tell this story, she would say, so what have you done to give back? What have you done for the community this year? And these are college students making their way. And some of their answers were insufficient. And she would say, well, I'm not sure that's good enough. So let's hear next year when you come back, what else you think you can do for the community. And one of those alumni who told that story is now the chairman of the Jackie Robinson Foundation Board of Directors. His name is Greg Gonzales. I saw him earlier. Yes. I know Len Coleman mentored him, but Greg, who had a 4.0 at the time when they didn't have all the 4.2s and 3s and 4s, but this was the top grade point average, graduating from the engineering school at Columbia University, going on to business school, ending up at Goldman Sachs, one of the few African-American partners at Goldman Sachs, beyond managing director. And we are thrilled to have him leading the board now. So wherever you are, Greg, thank you. But, you know, I wanted to mention that the Robinson legacy of helping others will also be carried out in this museum. Before it was fashionable, as Rachel Robinson would say, the Jackie Robinson Scholars were actually required to do community service. Before it was something you put on your college resume, Rachel Robinson mandated that for the Jackie Robinson Scholars Program. And in that same vein, in board meetings I noticed my first year, Rachel would bring up the idea of building a museum as well. Not as a shrine, her word, to Jackie, although I'm not sure she would necessarily be opposed to that, and I wouldn't blame her. But she wanted to instill hope and motivation in visitors around the impact that one person could have. And I again felt the magic of Rachel Robinson in this other vision of hers. And I asked Marty Edelman, who is the only other founding director of the Jackie Robinson Foundation, who was with her in 1973 when Rachel devised the plan to start the Jackie Robinson Foundation. I said, you know, Marty, I think she really means for this museum to happen, don't you? He said, yeah, I think she does. And as daunting as it sounded in this very competitive nonprofit environment with so many righteous causes before us, the good news was that I knew we had the nucleus of a staff with Rachel at our backs that could actually get this museum done. And that nucleus is rooted in one very special person who for 25 years was the rudder of this organization. And I want to give her her moment because I could not, would not, there's no way, and even I should not have tried to do this project without her. So that's all the kudos I deserve. But she is a woman with so many talents and skills and unfathomable organizational wisdom and expertise. Creativity. She's the foundation's chief operating officer, the best partner in crime Wood could have. LaTanya Johnson, I hope she would stand up, but I have a feeling she's going to be waving her hand at me and saying, I can't believe you wasted time on that. Is she back there? Where are you, Al? You're not getting away this time. Bless you. And you notice all of our consultants are standing up because they know her magic. They walk right past my office and go straight to her office. And LJ, you did it. So at one point, when we were struggling to find the right person to curate this museum, and we looked long and hard, Lonnie Bunch, whom you all know is the president, well, the secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, said, Della, there's not a deep bench for people, the demographic you're looking for in the museum world. You're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to think outside of the perennial box. And one day I walked into the office after months and months of searching, and LJ had found a woman called Jennifer Jensen to be the curator of this museum. And you will see for yourself very shortly, she did a masterful job. Jen, thank you. Kudos to you. And of course, this was a group effort, absolutely, with our very small, dedicated, hardworking staff, the likes of Stephen Lynch, our development director, Samantha Gibson's incredible work in programming. For a year and a half, Samantha has been doing, and her team have been going around to the tri-state area to public schools, private schools, and holding wonderful teaching sessions around Jackie Robinson and Rachel Robinson. And we will continue to do that work. And then I want to recognize a gentleman whom I went to law school with, who when I approached him as we were looking for leadership for the museum, said, I'm here, whatever you need. He is the distinguished emeritus professor, and he doesn't look that old, but I guess it makes him sound, more older and more distinguished, of the Wharton School. He's actually the founder and the 30-year shepherd of the Wharton School Sports Business Initiative. He also, by the way, with a degree in African-American in Africana Studies, he was recruited to go to ASU, to Arizona State University, to do the same thing he did at the Wharton School there, which he successfully did. And when I learned he was coming back north, I called him and said, you have to come, you have to help us. And he said, yes. So Ken Shropshire, wherever you are, thank you. His first, and Billie Jean King knows who he is, yes. Sitting next to our former Attorney General, Eric Holder. Nice to see you, another former law school, not classmate because he's older than I am, but certainly, certainly colleague. But I thank you, Ken, and I know your first task is to help us find a permanent director so you can go back to the life you had planned to have, which is one of semi-retirement, although I understand you're a senior advisor to the new African-American woman dean of the Wharton School, Erica James. So Erica was smart to buttonhole you and say, come and advise me too. So we're lucky to have you, and thank you. I look forward to working with you. I also want to mention a gentleman who's not here today. Joe Plumery was the chairman of the campaign for this museum, tireless, a believer from the beginning. Those of you who know Joe, animated Joe, he couldn't be here, but I do want to make sure I mention him because he was there on those deep nights when LJ and I were up late and I'd call him and say, Joe, we're going to do this, right? And he would get out his Rolodex and very generously himself contributed to the foundation. So Joe, thank you. And I wish I could call out all of the other very generous donors, most of whom are in the audience today. And thank you for making this happen. I urge you to, whether you gave or not, look at the donor board as you walk into the museum to your immediate left, and you'll see those people who really were indispensable for this project. And of course, I see Tony Clark here. I see CC Sabathia from the Players Association, as well as from the Commissioner's Office. Thank you for being here. Fred Wilpon, gosh, I mean, it's we have a real star-studded cast in baseball here. But finally, I want to mention the crew of consultants who, led by the incredible, venerable firm of Gensler Architects. We actually, you'll see on the donor board as well, we actually use Gensler's exhibit team, not just the architectural team. They were incredible to work with. Thank you for putting up with LJ's, Jen's, and my neurosis, perfectionism maybe, and the other members of that force who really, really were not only indispensable, but great to work with. Structure Tone, you all know Structure Tone, construction company. A couple of them I see are here, their leadership. Zubakian, owner's rep, Zubakian represented us, general contractor on this project, if you will. Hadley Exhibits out of Buffalo, home also of our board members, company New Era, another sponsor of this museum. Cortina Productions, apparently the guru in the area of media and institutions like this. And Ideum, very interesting company, which you will see our pièce de résistance, so to speak, in the far sports gallery. Is this, I wish I could explain it. I'd need some technical person to do this, but it is an incredible structure that allows a depth of content. And so we are very much in touch with today's generation. The young people who have come to see it, our guinea pigs, have just been blown away by it. So let me stop there and just say that, yes, we hope this museum is a place that continues Jackie's and Rachel's legacy and vision of pushing the envelope, of forcing us to deal with what I believe is the most difficult social issue of our time. And I think I have a lot of agreement here. And that is the issue of race relations. We're going to call it out. We're going to go to the edges. We're going to make it a safe space, as young people would say, to talk about race, to do it in an honest way, to do it from a position of goodwill, to do it, beginning with the facts of what's happening. And so with the idea of empathy in mind, and humanitarianism, and Rachel, I reached to you to say that was your directive to me. You didn't want a shrine to Jackie. You wanted a place where people would come together and be inspired to continue to do what you and Jackie did for this country. We will do our best. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Della. As my mama used to say, you can't put a limit on gratitude, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to give those who have contributed so much, and there's no denying your drive, Della, has really helped make this vision a reality.
These are the only bins that will accommodate larger overboard.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat every 10.
Oh my God.
So what?
As the city's newest cultural destination, this museum will be the cornerstone of an exciting renaissance taking place here in Lower Manhattan. Its impact will be felt in all 5 boroughs and across the tri-state area. Here to represent the city of New York, which, by the way, contributed $2.6 million to this project, Brooklyn's own, the Honorable Mayor, Eric Adams.
Thank you so much. It's such a significant moment. Sometimes in the celebratory states that we're in, we miss some of the subtext. Yes, we know Jackie's glory, but sometimes we don't really dig into the crevices and acknowledge his stories. This moment is a moment that not only talk about his greatness on the field, but off the field. But it's also a story about a love affair. It's a story about a man and wife who partnered together and just really personified the experience of love and commitment. And I know you're celebrating 100 years of life. And throughout my entire life, both in public safety and not, when you used to do the concerts up in Connecticut, our team used to be up there to provide support. But when I was a police officer, I would pass by this space all the time. This was my area of patrol. And I would think about that number 42. And that number began the process of us reflecting on greatness. You could not find Spike Lee without wearing that 42 all the time, talking about Jackie. And Jackie meant so much to America in general, but specifically he meant so much to Black folks, and he meant so much to Black men. We understood that not only did we have the challenges of running a baseball field, the challenges of corporate America, the challenges of politics. But I used to hear David Dinkins talk about becoming the first black mayor and how inspiring Jackie was to him and so many others, and becoming the first black borough president. And so many things we have done, we did it in the spirit of Jackie Robinson. But it's your partnership. As Jackie transitioned from the physical to the spiritual, you maintained the flow. You continued the mission, because the mission was not only honed in your husband, but it was your mission also, because you lived it out every day. And every time I would see you or Norman Siegel, a good friend, we would talk about your radiance, how you just always was so focused, always determined. You know, there are people you meet in life, and every time you see them, they're depositing something that's joyful and loving and kind, and you did that. And we cannot thank you enough. Your husband is not here to see this museum that's open, but not only do I want to give you your flowers while you're here, I want to continue to plant in that garden so more flowers like you could continue to be in our city and in our country. We cannot say thank you enough to you. You mean so much to us. We adopted Jackie as a member of New York City. We knew what he meant, and there's something he said that is so powerful. Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you are wasting your life. You can't be a detached spectator in a full contact sport called life. You can't sit in the grandstand and critique those who are on the fields, taking those fastballs, those curveballs, or those illegal spikes when someone slide into you. That is not how we win this. If the goal is to beat back racism, anti-Semitism, anti-AAPI, and the violence that's pervasive in our country and the feeling that we're leaving people behind, we got to get out of the grandstands. We got to get on the field. We have to be like Jackie and be bold enough, strong enough, and fearless enough to state real champions are on the field. We have to be like Rachel Robinson and her entire family that states we can win this together if we all come together. Let me tell you something as I read this proclamation. There's something great about this country, and Jackie Robinson is representative of that. Listen, there's nowhere on the globe where dream is attached to our name or our country's name. There's not a German dream. It's not a French dream. It's not a Polish dream. But darn it, there's an American dream. And this man and wife took that dream and forced America and baseball to say you're not going to be a dream on a piece of paper, you're going to be a dream in life. We are greater because of number 42. And because he had an amazing wife that understood that dream and vision. Thank you so much on behalf of New Yorkers. Whereas Jackie unforgettable debut in the MLB ended more than 60 years of segregation in the MLB and transformed our nation's views on racial division and equality. Off the field and post-retirement, he was heavily involved in politics and the civil rights movement, advocating for social and political change, serving on the board of the NAACP, and calling for greater minority representation in baseball's coaching, management, and central office personnel. As New Yorkers, we owe an enormous debt of gratitude to Jackie, whose legacy lives on through the enduring impact he made in sports, business, and media. And through the Jackie Robinson's Foundation, commitment to supporting and empowering young people. Today, 75 years after Jackie broke the color barrier in our great city, I am immensely proud to honor his life, his wife, and his achievements, and join in celebrating the grand opening of Tribeca's Jackie Robinson Museum. I, Eric Adams, Mayor of the City of New York. Thank you very much.
so much. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor Adams, and for the contributions of New York City in making this a reality. Following the footsteps of his parents, our next speaker has spent the last 40 years involved in the development of racial and human opportunity. In the 1970s, as a founder and president of United Harlem Growth Incorporated, he spent 9 years in community development and self-help housing construction in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City. Since 1983, he has lived and raised his family in Tanzania, East Africa, where he has been involved in international economic development as a managing director of the Higher Ground Development Corporation, a coffee farm, coffee exporter, and marketer of the Sweet Unity Farms coffee brand in North America. Please welcome Rachel and Jackie Robinson's son, David Robinson.
Thank you very much. It is truly a great day and truly a great honor. And one of the questions I think my father would have raised was, who is being honored? He was a man who used the word we regularly when he spoke. In early life, that we was a wife, Rachel Robinson, and himself. That we grew as it became a team, and the Brooklyn Dodgers went from segregation to internal conflict to finally integration and finally victory as a baseball team. That we grew when Jackie Robinson stepped out on the baseball field, and for the first time there were thousands of African Americans in the stadium who had a hero to cheer. That we grew when white Americans saw the courage and integrity and skills of a man who could make not only the game better, not only Brooklyn a championship stadium for baseball, but could impact all of America. So the we began to grow beyond family, it grew beyond race, it grew beyond sport. And I think today Jackie Robinson would say, I accept this honor, but I accept this honor on behalf of something far beyond my individual self, far beyond my family, far beyond even my race. Jackie Robinson would say, don't think of you standing on my shoulders. I think of myself standing on the shoulders of my mother, who was a sharecropper in Georgia, my grandmother, who was born a slave, standing. And as the we has expanded beyond family, each of us can see within our families, within our race, within our religion, great people on whose shoulders we are standing and forging the larger we. Because in fact, the family that Jackie Robinson represents today, and the potential that Jackie Robinson represents, and the challenge that this museum makes is to the family of man, which includes all of us. So I thank you. I know Jackie Robinson would thank you. This moment in history is now a challenge for all of us, because the issues in baseball, the issues that Jackie Robinson challenged in 1947, they're still with us. They're still with us in some degree, a greater and more complex nature. The signs of white only have been taken down, but the complexity of equal opportunity still exists. And when you look at this museum, look at the greatness of the achievement but also the challenge that was faced and the challenge that we face ahead of us. So for all of us here, congratulations. We are part of the we, and we need to keep that we growing if we're going to have an America and a global civilization that embraces and supports and nurtures all human life. Thank you.
It's so wonderful when David, when you sat down, how your mama reached for you, as only a mama can, and said, wonderful, wonderful son. You're there with your sister Sharon. With members of the Robinson family, please stand so we can recognize you. The grandchildren, all the members of the Robinson family, I know how proud you all are, and rightfully so. Beautiful. So beautiful. And now it is time, it is on. To do the honors, Rachel Robinson will cut the ribbon officially opening the Jackie Robinson Museum, the culmination of a multi-decade dream. Please welcome the founder, the guiding light, and the soul of the Jackie Robinson Foundation and the Jackie Robinson Museum, Rachel Robinson.
was bugging off it because I was like, I had it.
I get a quick interview with you, just your thoughts on today. Yep, I just, let's see here.
The day is finally here.
1 second.
The day is finally here. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. And so happy for Rachel. Just turned 100 a few days ago, and she's here to celebrate the cut with the ribbon. But it's about equality. It's about racism. It's about all these things that as the younger generations have got to learn about Jackie's legacy and all he did. And Jackie was a real hero in our family in the 50s. You know, my dad who played basketball against him. He went to Long Beach City, and Jackie went to Pasadena City. So I've known about Jackie Robinson my whole life, and he's always a hero in our home and what he represented and how he did it. I have no idea. Putting up the racism, the slurs, just how horrible humans can be to each other, and he just hung in there every day. He messed us. I just can't believe how he got through this, but he did, and he's such a great example and such a hero to all of us, everyone. And I know we're fighting racism, but I can tell you a lot of white people, including me, loved him, love what he stands for, and continue to appreciate the kids who are getting the scholarships. I think that's really important, and his legacy will truly live on with Rachel's idea of having the Jackie Robinson Museum.
All right, there we go.
Thanks, guys.
We'll just get a quick photo of you.
Sure.
There we go.
Where did I see you last?
I was at probably MSNBC, but at an event. I'm always covering something, so.
I know you are.
Yeah, I get around with it. All right, okay. Are we set up on the inside? The whole thing. Well, we got to do interviews with history. We got to get Eric Langer. Glad we got her. She told me. It's in an album. I want to grab Eric Holt. I want to grab Howard Bryan. I thought we had talked about. Okay, all right, that's fine.
No press inside. No press inside.
Hey.
This is my media hero. I saw small. Thank you. Thank you. I saw you yesterday. Oliver, Mashaka, your family sends his regards to you from Kenya.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you should be rolling on that. Come on, over here.
I'm like,
Just go around this way. I'm gonna get you all hot. What y'all have that song? Is that Waldo's? Okay. All right. Come on now, you got us in the back. Let's go. All right, you got ready? Are you ready? Folks, Howard Bryant, journalist, author, books on Ricky Henderson, Henry Aaron. We can go on and on and on, all kinds of different books. Just your thoughts on this finally opening 5 years after the groundbreaking.
Well, I'm just pleased about it for lots of reasons. I mean, one, to have it open a week after Rachel's birthday, and all of the consternation about trying to get it open, and not to be morbid, but we wanted her to see it. And after each delay you were like, are we going to get there? Are we going to get there? Are we going to get there? And also I feel very personal for it as well, because they asked me to write, some of the museum exhibits, which was an honor. So to see this space from just concrete to a finished product, it almost feels like writing a book where it starts from nothing and then it ends up as something, and then now it's something for everyone to see. It's amazing.
Billy Aaron is here, the widow of Henry Aaron. So many people who knew him, who played with him, for them to also experience this. And the beauty of this, I was saying that yesterday, is that it doesn't just talk about him as a baseball player. It's him in his totality.
Well, there's no question, when we were in the planning sessions of what this script was going to look like, one of the things that was emphasized to me over and over again is, this is not a baseball museum. There's going to be baseball in it, but this is not going to be defined by baseball. And I remember stepping back going, okay, but how do we know Jackie? We know Jackie as a baseball player. We know what made Jackie famous. And what is the strategy and what are the calculations of, do you emphasize the fan service? Why are people coming here? Or do you emphasize something else, which is, okay, here's the totality of the person. And I think that it struck a really great balance of making sure that you come for the baseball, but you stay for the man, or you come for the man and then you get some baseball as well.
And going through it, when you look at, first of all, the NAACP work, when you look at, again, and in fact, I was telling one of the folks, I really hope that they hit TNT to have that movie Andre Braugher portray him, the court martial of Jackie Robinson, because you can't find it anywhere. I said, because again, that's a story very few people know about, how this man put it on the line facing a dishonorable discharge, and he did that before Rosa Parks. I mean, this is somebody who said, no, I'm not going to the back of the bus at Fort Hood clean.
That's right. And I think what's most amazing about Jackie, and it's always been something, especially when you look at the history of who he was as a person, where did that drive come from? Where did that courage come from? The willingness to do this, knowing the price. And nobody knows who Jackie Robinson is at the time, so everything he did was on principle. There's no grandstanding here. There's nothing performative about what he did. What's right is right. And that's it.
I mean, he was a great college athlete, but at that time.
But even before he was a college athlete, he was doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Even before, when he was at Pasadena, there was always some moment somewhere where Jackie Robinson was involved in right and wrong. And so to me, it was just something inherent in him. And I just find him to be so, inspirational is one word, but he's incredible.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about who he is, or who he was as a person, it's not just the baseball. First black man to integrate corporate America. First black man to be on the broadcast and in the broadcast booth. First black VP in the country. I mean, all of these different firsts, and also on top of being those first, it's the vision that here's what I'm all about. I'm also about making sure that black people had agency in terms of their own money. So in terms of trying to start the Freedom National Bank, all of these things, they all add up to the same vision, which is, I am here for my people. And it just brings you to tears. I mean, the amount of respect that you have for somebody who is so clear that here's what I'm all about. I mean, what do we always say? Don't talk about it, be about it, right? Here's somebody who is about it at all times.
And someone who was very clear in his book, where he is raising money. He's on the board of the NAACP, but highly critical of the CEO, Roy Wilkins. I mean, his whole deal was about accountability, whether you were black or white.
Well, that's right. And on top of that, there's an evolution. I think one of the things that I admire most about Jackie Robinson, and it's reflected in the museum as well, is how many times he failed. I mean, the story is not always heroic with him. He didn't, when Rachel wanted to work, he didn't really want his wife working, but he had to grow and he evolved, and he and Martin Luther King Jr. were at odds on Vietnam. And then Jackie had to come around and had to evolve with the times and to recognize that being in the fight doesn't always mean that everything you do is perfect, but you're in it and you grow and you fight and you change. And his story is just so remarkable in so many ways, because he's one of the few guys, especially in a time today where everyone is trying to burnish their image. They're always trying to make sure that everything that they do is
all about the brand.
The brand and the polish. Jackie was willing to say, I messed up. I didn't get this part right, but I'm going to get the next part right.
Well, that was the case. Spike Lee and I talked about that last night, about him testifying on the House committee and what he had to say about Paul Robeson, and how he later said he wished he had not done that.
That's right. And once again, that's it. You know, Robeson Robinson, July 18th, 1949 is one of these seminal moments in Black history, because once again, you are brought to witness in service, not of your own people, but in service of white people. And Jackie was torn because he was a veteran and he did view the American dream a certain way and he did believe in it. And he also knew in the back of his mind that there was a high potentiality that he was being used. And by the segregationists on that House Un-American Activities Committee, who would not sign an anti-lynching bill, but dragged him up to Congress to testify against Paul Robeson. And what I find most fascinating and most sort of poignant about it was the fact that both Jackie and Paul ended up eventually in the same place, which was brokenhearted and disillusioned at this country, when what they really, really wanted was what we all want, which is to be in service of Black people.
And freedom.
And freedom, 100%.
You've covered baseball for a number of years. You covered Giving Guys today. What is your hope for a current Major League Baseball player, or an up-and-coming baseball player, if they came through this museum?
Well, I think it always comes back to values. And I think that if you know your values, then I think you're going to do fine in your life. And I think that, to me, one of the biggest issues that I always have, especially in today's celebrity hero culture and the rest of it, is that you don't follow people, you follow values. And this museum is all about values. It's all about, where do you stand on this issue? Who am I? And once again, who you are is always going to evolve. And if you're a player walking in and you're a current player, you realize that virtually every issue that you're faced with right now is nothing compared to the issues he was faced with. And if he could do what he did, there's no reason why you can't do more.
That's it. Always good to see you, my brother. I appreciate it, baby. I appreciate it. Folks, Howard Bryant, great conversation there. So they have the tour there, folks, and they have the tour. And so what's happening right now is cameras not allowed in it, but we're going to do some interviews. We'll have those later on Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 p.m. Eastern. So look forward to that. So, folks, until then, we hope you appreciate this live broadcast, and then we will have more later, again, on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. And this is why we do what we do. Please support us in what we do, folks, by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do things like this here. And I'm not sure any other Black-owned media is here, but we are here. This is why we do what we do. So please, go ahead, Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Again, I'll see y'all at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on the show. Until then, holla.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?